Welcome to episode 6 of All That Remains. We are back, and today we're back with Count and our guest for today, Joe Chip.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you today, guys? I'll take that as a good.
I'm alive.
Yeah, regrowing a finger still, which is good.
Yeah, I'm having to keep an eye on it because the nail's slightly trying to ingrow.
Oh,
It's lovely.
disgusting.
Yeah, and I'm very tired because I went to see Dinosaur Pile-Up last night. Hooray!
Oh, very good.
Yeah, I'm okay as well. Yeah. Got a bit of a cold, but other than that, I'm fine.
A bit cold. We do apologise for missing last week. Count and I tried to get on, but we couldn't make our schedules line up. And unfortunately, Mark had to duck out relatively last minute. So we do apologise for that. For the remainder of this year, though, we have this episode, which will be, as the title suggests, basically our games of the decade. We're reaching the end of the decade at the end of this year. So we've got hopefully a good variety and a good mix of games to bring to you today. And after that, Joe, we're doing something on your channel too. We're doing a yearly wrap-up.
Yeah, basically looking at the stories of the year. So hopefully that'll go out around about the same time as this one.
Very good. So look forward to that. So you have to jump over to Joe's channel either, I'm going to say at the latest, no later than next week. We should hopefully have that up. Let's get into it, guys. So I think we've all kind of put together our lists in kind of different ways. Count's kind of just shot his to shit just then. Hopefully he's brought something
what
to
you're
the
on
table.
about. I did mine loads of time in advance. Didn't rush at all.
It's great. I don't know. I did mine last night. We've been talking about this episode for weeks, and I only did mine last night. Although, you know, it still only took about 15 minutes because some years were straightforward. Like, you glance at it and you're like, that's the game. I don't even need to look at anything else that year. All right? I'm assuming you guys had some titles like this.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did manage to find one for 2017 eventually.
I can't even... What did I have? Oh, okay. I've got a good one for that one. Yeah, and I don't know about you guys as well, but I actually had some games on my list. Before we jump into our lists, I had some games on my list that I unfortunately couldn't place into the calendar year because I was pretty strict with mine. I wanted to treat it like what was the best game of 2010 through 2019, and I picked one game per year, and the game had to release in that year. So there's some games that just didn't quite squeeze in because I hadn't played them that calendar year, and I played them in later years. So I'm going to have a little bit of a tack on. I'm not going to call it an honorable mention list. I think these are games that are seriously deserving to be on the main list, but unfortunately they just didn't fit into the calendar year for me.
Well, why don't we then? Why, if I'm assuming we've all got some sort of tack on list, because I've got a couple. So why don't we do that first, and then we cycle through the years 2010 to 2019, all three of us, like that.
I love it. Let's do it. So I will just quick fire off my my list. Okay, my tack on list, we'll call it. But at the top of that list. Ooh, at the top of that list, I have Minecraft, which I've sunk hundreds of hours into over its release. Terraria, the 2D Minecraft, Mass Effect 2, Super Meat Boy, Call of Duty Black Ops, Bad Company 2, phenomenal multiplayer, Halo Reach, and to round it out, Uncharted 4. So some big titles on there that you would suspect might have actually made it into my decade calendar list, but you know, it was a tough list to put together. So, Count, do you want to fire yours off?
Okay, so off the top of my head, the ones I can think of will be Rocket League before it got fucked up the arse with microtransactions. Oh, bloody hell, someone's got a tinny out.
I swear to God, I haven't got beers in the car.
It's a bit early, Count.
Stardew Valley I love, but it clashed with a game that I love more. Enter the Gungeon, Just Cause 3, Spelunky, Papers, Please, Return of the Obra Dinn, Watch Dogs 2, I really enjoyed Watch Dogs 2. Opus Magnum, I love Opus Magnum so much, it's one of the best puzzle games I've ever played. Heat Signature, Smash Bros. Ultimate nearly made the one for last year, but I've just found one that beats it out slightly. And I think there was one more somewhere. It was a Switch game, I remember that. It might be Zelda Breath of the Wild. There we go.
Ooh,
that's my honourable mentions list.
You had some big titles in yours. Wow.
Well, there were less big titles that I liked more.
Wow. All right, hit us up, Joe, and then we can maybe pit stop and cover some of these titles.
Right, so Minecraft would be on there because I spent a lot of time playing that with my lad. He played it more than I did. I spent more time watching it, but that was a lot of fun. I've got to mention Black Mesa, which is the Half-Life remake.
Ooh, that's a good shout.
That's a great game, that is. Well, it was originally a great game, and obviously the remake makes it even better. What else we got here? Max Payne 3, really enjoyed that. And then Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which was my favourite Assassin's Creed game, and I kind of gave up with it after that, really.
Underrated, that one.
What else we got? Say again?
Underrated, I thought, Black Flag.
Yeah, definitely.
Really
it's the last one that had an original thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think it was kind of reaching the end of its formula as well, even though it was still like they had the whole sea dynamic. But it's a strange time in Assassin's Creed, kind of right before it started to like really dip down in quality. I think people were getting a little bit tired of it as well.
Yeah. What else have I got here? I got to mention Pokemon Go. I had an immense amount of fun. Not so much playing it, just wandering around with my kid while he played it. One summer, we were out nearly every day playing that, wandering around all over the place, meeting people. It was great. So, that's got to get on the honourable mentions. And I suppose, last but not least, I'm going to have to mention Breath of the Wild. It's not my favourite game, but it's a groundbreaking game, so it has to be on there. So I think you already mentioned that one, Count. Oh, and Fallout 76, because, I think that's had a bad rap.
Amazing. Okay, so I don't know about you guys, but I didn't actually have any crossover, which was interesting. Except Minecraft, obviously. I think that was a pretty obvious one.
I didn't have any crossover except for this bit of crossover.
except Minecraft's. The only thing I have in my paper is Minecraft. That's all I'm bringing today is Minecraft. Joe, what do you play on Minecraft wise? Where are you? What are you on?
I just play the
what platform?
Building stuff basically. Me and my lad used to sit around building like statues and shit with it, and that's pretty much all we do.
That's all I do.
He does other things as well. We used to play the I can't remember what you call them, the little sort of games where you do shooting and whatnot within Minecraft.
The mini games. Do you still play?
The little mini games.
You should join my server, Joe, if you still play. You and your lad.
Okay, cool. Cool, yeah, I'm sure he'd like it. Yeah, he'd have fun.
Yes.
He doesn't play as much as he used to, but he does dip into it occasionally. He loves playing it when his mates come round. They all sit round and talk about it and do stuff. So,
good stuff. Good, wholesome, fun Minecraft. Yeah. Dig it.
Yeah, and I enjoy watching people play it. It's good fun to watch.
Yeah, it literally, Minecraft, I think, is one of the few titles on this list that has spanned the entire decade, and it's still just as relevant, which is impressive.
Yeah.
Quite
Creative,
impressive.
That's what I was trying to remember. Creative.
Yeah, creative. Okay, well, let's move into our list then. Who would like to kick it off? Do you guys want me to fire... I guess we'll go round table.
We'll go. Start.
Yeah, we'll go one at a time.
Yeah, you go with it. So
2010. StarCraft 2. StarCraft 2 for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair shout.
Yeah, loved a bit of StarCraft 2 back in the day. So I don't really play it much today, but quality RTS by Blizzard and a long time in the making. Everybody was waiting for that sequel to the original, much like a lot of Blizzard games. A lot of their IPs kind of get a lot of breathing space and time before they'll release a sequel or a third entry in their series. Really enjoyed that game. I think I've sunk thousands of hours into it. There's nothing I didn't like about it. The lore, the story, the multiplayer. Like I used to stay up late. Like it's one of those games where it would keep me up to unreasonable hours. Just smashing out 2v2 multiplayer. And then to this day, I'm still dog shit at it as well. So I was never any good. I just loved it. So loved it. I don't think it really... I feel like it almost kind of brought the RTS genre to kind of a conclusion for at least at that point in time. Like, there's nothing that came out after that I think really revamped the RTS scene. So I think in a lot of ways it didn't kill the RTS scene, but it really was that it was at the top of its game.
Yeah, the fact that there wasn't anything that had anywhere near as much attention as StarCraft 2 tournaments.
Yeah.
For years. Like, it's really only the last couple of years where that's fallen off.
Absolutely. And I think, like what it did for esports, moving it out of Korea was huge as well. So it's been a really strong... It did have a really strong esports presence. So I think it's done a lot for esports. It's done a lot for the RTS genre. And I think it's very few games did the basic rock, paper, scissors better than StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2. So, that's absolutely my taker for 2010.
Cool. It's not one I've ever played, I have to say. They're not my sort of games, really, but...
Wouldn't recommend it, because you'll pull your hair out, Joe. But...
I haven't got any to pull out.
It's
real. You didn't mean the hair on your head.
It's some real technical, like RTS, like real technical. So very keyboard layout. You got to remember patterns, keyboard layouts. Like, it's crazy. So if you want to be competitive, which is why I never was. Count. Do you want to drive home your 010?
2010, and it'll be no surprise to anybody that there's at least one Pokemon game on this list.
Oh my
god. We have Pokemon Heart Gold, because that was released in the non-Japanese parts of the world in 2010. Pokemon Heart Gold was they were the remakes of the Generation 2 games Gold and Silver, with more elements of Crystal incorporated in it, and they are the best. It's like two of the best Pokemon games that you could ever play. Like, if someone asks how to get into the franchise, those are the ones I recommend, because it has most of the modern features that you'd expect from a Pokemon game, and it ties it up with one of the best stories and one of the most expansive, lovely regions, and it is just wonderful to play. Every time I go back to it, even after playing like the newer Pokemon games, I'll just go back to that one, and it is still wonderful. It holds up amazingly, as do most of the Pokemon games, to be fair, but I think this one, more than any of the others, is just wonderful to play.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, Gold and Silver, it's a sweet point, wasn't it, in simplicity, and it did a lot.
But then this just brings the more modern sensibilities that you expect from a Pokemon game, and just incorporates them into that. So I mean, you've got the ability to run, which is just infinitely more useful than anything else. And you've also got the amazing feature that they didn't carry forward, which I really hope they did, where you could walk around with any Pokemon walking behind you, literally any of them, and it would just walk behind you in the world, and you could switch out which ones did it. The only game they've brought that back with since are the Let's Go games, and that's a lovely feature. It just makes the world feel nicer when you've got, it's like your thing is walking with you, rather than just invisible in a ball somewhere. Yeah.
My partner talks about a happy place. I think Pokemon's your happy place, isn't it?
It is, as long as I disassociate from the fan base now.
Yeah. Well, I think that's true of a lot of fan bases.
Can't do that anymore. Oh, it's distressing. I really just don't like the fan base anymore after this year, particularly.
Well,
but
hopefully that all simmers down.
yeah, hopefully. To me, it's the same thing as the Star Wars thing now. It's so fractured as to what people want that no one's ever going to find. There's never going to be one that everyone likes again.
Yeah.
Yep, it happens to many long-running series. The fan base divides. They don't know how to please them. But anyway, we're getting off topic. We'll talk about Star Wars after we see the new movie.
Positive games.
Joe, hit us up. What have you got?
Alan Wake.
Oh, solid.
Alan Wake is
solid.
Okay.
I'd forgotten about that.
I love that game. I was playing it again recently. When I actually sat down to play it first time, I didn't actually get that far. And so I've been playing it again recently. And it obviously ties into Control. I don't know if you know this, but if you're playing through Control, you find all sorts of references to Alan Wake. And it was some sort of supernatural thing going on. Surprise, surprise, in Alan Wake. But the thing that sums up Alan Wake for me was I was playing it one night and my partner walked in and she sat down with a cup of tea and she was watching me playing it. And she said, and she's not a gamer at all, really. And she said, "Oh, I can really see why you're into this." You know, and it's got a really good story. It's really eerie. It's the writing in it's fantastic. I think it's a fantastic game, and it's you know me. I like story-based games, and it's got a great story, and the atmosphere and everything about it is fantastic. So yeah,
nice. I like that one. I'd forgotten about Alan Wake. I hope we was there either a remaster, and second question, is there a sequel on the way?
There's not a sequel yet, although
I'm getting confused with something else then.
There were some hints made recently that there might be something going on. Obviously, like I say, there's some references to it in Control, but that's the nearest they've got to a sequel so far.
Okay. Fingers crossed.
It is backwards compatible with Xbox One if you want to play it like that, or it's on
It is
Steam.
indeed, yeah. That's how I've been playing it recently, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. I thought that game was actually quite a bit older, but okay, cool. I'll take it. Awesome.
Apparently not.
All right. Well, I'll give you my 2011. Crisis 2. A lot of people are probably cringing at that at the moment, if you're listening.
Okay.
I quite enjoyed the more linear level design and visuals of Crisis 2. Crisis 2 kind of came at that time when I'd really become a PC gamer. So right around the time, I built a PC for Battlefield 3, my first gaming PC. And Crisis 2 was like the second title I got. And obviously, you know, the visuals pulled that game through a lot. But the actual shooter mechanics... you know, it's like Halo. Like, it just had that same kind of similar sci-fi hook on me. Story, I can't remember anything. It was more just the gunplay that I really enjoyed, the armor abilities, the visuals, and actually the multiplayer. I really, really, really enjoyed the multiplayer on Crisis 2. I actually sunk quite a few hours into that. And funnily enough, fun fact, it was a bit of a toss-up for me between Crisis 2 and Gears of War 3. And I'm a pretty big Gears of War guy, so... it just beat it out.
It must be good if you prefer that over Gears.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Well, I mean, kind of Gears of War 3 is kind of like the third entry, so I kind of had a pretty good feel by then, I think. I've tried to put my list together based on, you know, how much I enjoyed it, how much time went into it as well. So it's kind of a bit of a toss-up between those two. And I think Crisis 2 I probably enjoyed it as much as Gears of War, but I think I put a lot more time into Crisis 2. So,
it's me now, isn't it? 2011. Portal 2.
Whoa.
Funny enough, that was my list. That was my choice as well.
Ooh.
Oh, is it?
Spoilers.
Yeah. Great game.
Portal 2 is a great game. So, to me, it isn't as tightly made as its predecessor, the original Portal. However, that came out in 2008, so that doesn't fit here. But it's still a wonderful game. The mechanics are perfect, and it does a really good job of expanding on the world that the original Portal created. Did someone just open something?
I think he's drinking beer.
I think he is.
Maybe.
Like, that was
I might have,
really close to the microphone.
I may have opened a beer under a jumper, so you wouldn't hear it, but you heard it, obviously.
Yeah, that really didn't work, man.
I've had a couple, let's be honest.
Dear me. Yeah. Anyway, so you pour beer on Portal 2? No. No, it did a really good job of expanding the story that the original Portal hinted at. It didn't do it in such a way that it kind of ruined the first game or ruined anything. It just sort of built it up nicely, and it was wonderful. And then I just love the way that the mechanics build up to you finally in the final puzzle realizing what you have to do as you look up and you're like, oh, I see. And you're like, that won't work, will it? And then it does, and it's wonderful. Oh,
it was.
If you don't,
it was a great.
Yeah, I mean, fuck it. This is an 8-year-old game, 9-year-old game. You shoot a portal onto the moon. There you go. Oh no! I spoiled a really old game that people
was there
probably know what happens by now. Oh dear. Yeah, it's wonderful. It's a gorgeous game. Visually, it still holds up. To be honest, like they didn't go so over the top with the art style. They didn't try and do things to the point where it doesn't hold up. They didn't do realistic people particularly. They weren't trying to go for photorealistic. They went with what they had on the Source engine, and it still holds up visually. It looks really nice.
Yeah,
I agree.
what he said. Absolutely.
Yep. I agree.
Is that all you're going to add on the matter?
Yeah.
All right, well then we're in 2012. So if you've been following the releases or you have a good memory, you should know that Halo 4 released that year. And guess what? My game for that year is Halo 4.
Oh really? I thought it was.
It's Pokemon.
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty Ghosts. Was that Call of Duty Ghosts that year? It might have been Call of Duty. No, I think Call of Duty Ghosts.
It might have been that year. Fucking hell.
It was 13. No, so it was definitely 13 because that's when the new consoles launched, and it was a launch title.
COD Ghost, 2013. Piece of shit.
Absolute garbage. Anyway, back to Halo 4. So Halo 4, straight away, like, it's a Halo title, so I probably would have taken it regardless because I'm a big sucker for the Halo lore and the gunplay. Just love it. But Halo 4 was a big one for me because, well, I'd always wanted more after Halo 3. Like, Bungie was starting to wrap up after Reach. And by the time we got Halo 4, I think 5 years had passed between, the Master Chief's story in Halo 3. So, I mean, I think the fanbase wanted more. And the return, at least for me, it's split the fan base a little bit in terms of where they've taken the story and the multiplayer and all that. But there's, I understand the criticism with the Halo multiplayer in Halo 4. I get it. I don't disagree with it. But as far as the story goes, I loved it. So for me, it was a long-awaited return to form for Halo 4. And I just really enjoyed it. So can't say the same about Halo 5.
Played it.
Oh, Joe. You've played Halo 5,
well, because it fell in that... Yeah, I have, but I didn't finish it. Halo 4 fell into that period when I had my lad and stuff, and I didn't get to play a lot of games, so... Well, it was one that I bought and didn't play.
I highly recommend giving it a go. If you've played Halo 5, you have nothing to lose by giving Halo 4 a go, because it is a better story than Halo 5. And my issue with Halo 5, and again... I don't want to get too off trapping and turn into the Halo podcast. Again, the issue with Halo 5 is the story is presented poorly. The story isn't bad, it's just presented poorly. And it's through the eyes of Locke, a character you don't even care about. And it kind of feels like they're just buying time until Halo 6 or something. Like they're just, I don't know. It was not presented very well. But Halo 4, the story, it's tight, it's fast, and it moves in a straight line. And it's typical Halo Master Chief stuff. So, I really enjoyed it. And they take the characters in a deeper direction as well. So they really flesh out Cortana and Master Chief's relationship with each other. And I don't want to give too many spoilers away, I guess, because you haven't played it. But yeah, I recommend it. It's far better than Halo 5.
it's definitely on my list, and my backlog's ridiculous. But yeah, it's one of those I've always meant to play. But
have you got?
I have it downstairs, and I've just never played it.
Yeah, it was the same. I mean, it was one that I intended to play. I just never got round to it, and so it's sitting there waiting to be played. I'm sure I will one day.
I would like to hear your thoughts, Joe, as someone who's been with the Halo series since the beginning, because we all know this. It's no secret that since 343 took over, the games it's become like what we've just already talked about: Star Wars, Pokemon. The fan base is split. Long-running franchises. So I'd be interested to see what you think of it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll have to play it, and I'll let you know in 20 years when I finally get round to it. No, I'll try and play it next year and let you know.
No, easy.
There you go.
Okay, perfect. Well, let's move along. So, count. I think we're up to 2012 still.
2012. Yes, I have FTL, Faster Than Light.
Woohoo! Nice.
A wonderful, wonderful real-time, but might as well be called turn-based strategy. Because you just hit the spacebar, plan your actions, and then hit the spacebar again. That's what we all do in FTL. It's got a wonderful mix of just impending doom and hope. You're going through, you're like, yes, I can do it this run. I've done really well so far. The fleet are just behind me, but I can do it this run. And then you get to the final boss and you just get murdered. See, I don't think I've ever beaten the final boss in FTL. Ever. Oh, it's a bit distressing that I've never done it in however many years, but it's still a really good game. I do love playing it, I must admit.
I'm the same with Binding of Isaac.
Yes, definitely.
Never beat it, but sunk so many hours in.
I have been the Binding of Isaac. It is fucking difficult to beat, but I've done it a couple of times. FTL though, I've never managed to beat, but every time I play it, I just love it. You can play it on tablet if you want to as well. Like it's on iPad. So yeah,
Makes
I mean,
sense.
there's no excuse to not play this game because it's just on everything, and it's a beautiful game to play. I
Indie
can't
game?
recommend it highly enough.
It's one of
That was from the
it's
indie
another one
scene.
that passed me by because it fell into that era of gaming where I was basically spending most of my time changing nappies rather than actually playing video games.
Playing real life.
So
No
yeah, I missed that
respawns.
one. So that's another one on my list.
All right. Well,
Yeah, I'm going to
Joe,
say, like, the only thing I ever have to criticise about it is, for a permadeath game, the runs can go on for slightly too long. You sort of, you invest like an hour to 2 hours in a run to get to the final boss, and then it's all just pissed to the wind, so,
Oh, that would
Yeah.
be annoying.
it can be a bit annoying, but it's also a really
it the
fun
best
little
way.
game.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Joe. We're on to you. So, I mean, you've filled us with hope for these years.
Well, you were saying earlier on about maybe not playing the games in that year, and this is another one. I actually started it this year, but I had to go back and play it again. I think it was actually finally last year when I finally got to play it all the way through, and that's Spec Ops: The Line.
Spec Ops.
I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that's a
God,
fantastic
I can't
game.
believe that's that old.
Yeah, 2012 it came
Yeah.
out.
Far out. I would have thought like 3 or 4 years old. Like, wow. Fuck.
It's 6 years old.
Far out. You know what a game
Yeah,
that
it came
took
out
me
on
back was
26th of June it came out.
Wow. Halo 5 actually took me back. I cannot believe it's been 5 years.
Oh, it's mental, isn't it?
What, since Halo 5?
2015. I mean,
Fucking
albeit
what?
at the end. Yeah, by the time we get the next one at this time next year, it's been just over 5 years, I think.
Fuck
Bonkers.
me.
I know, time flies. Fuck. Anyway, sorry, Joe.
Yeah.
Derailing you.
No, it's just I just loved. I loved the. I mean, it wasn't a particularly long game. It had a brilliant story. I mean, it's basically Heart of Darkness in game form. You know, Apocalypse Now, however you want to look at it, and you know, we've had all this stuff about Call of Duty and they've gone really serious and they're dealing with real stuff. No, they're not. Spec Ops: The Line did. and it did it properly. And it's a game that is harrowing, and it's worth everybody's time to play that game. It's a fantastic game. I just,
All right. Sold me.
you know, it hasn't got the absolute best gunplay. I mean, it's, you know, if you look at something like Call of Duty, the gunplay in those games is always solid. But the gunplay in it's perfectly fine. And as I say, the story and the way it takes you on that journey with the main character that you're kind of playing as is sublime. It's brilliant, and it's probably it's such a shame that it's such an underrated game. I think the people who've played it don't underrate it, but I think it didn't do that well in terms of sales, which is a real shame.
It didn't do as well as it could have done, but what it did do is it took the modern warfare shooter bubble and just flipped it on its head and went, right, you're being cunts, you're all horrible people, this is why, fuck you. And it did it really well, and it was amazing. That is exactly what it did, and it was wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, it to me, it stands head and shoulders above most of the kind of rinse and repeat shooters that are out there. And for that alone, it makes it worth playing.
Yeah, it reviewed really well at the time. I do remember that. I think for these exact reasons as well. It told a real story. It's nice.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
And you know.
Yeah, wow.
Handled it very, very well.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been 5 years. No, longer than that. Oh my god, how long's it been? 2012. Oh my god. 8 years.
Yep. Well, 7 years.
7. Oh my god. Seems like yesterday. Anyway, let's move along. Try and catch up to present.
2013.
2013. 2013, The Last of Us. I need not say any more.
Yep. I'll go with that.
Everyone agree?
Wasn't my choice. I didn't play it at the time. Not really my thing, but yeah, fair enough. I understand why it was well appreciated.
Yeah. Fun fact, I borrowed my mate's PS3 to play this one, and then I ended up investing in the PS4 generation whenever the remaster came out. I think it was a couple years later, and played it again on PS4. So yeah, quality game. A long time between sequels as well, so still waiting on number 2. So
yep.
Yeah, wow. When's that one due out? Early next year, is it?
Yeah, early to mid next year.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, wow. So that will be almost 7 years as well. So that's crazy as well. Damn. Anyway, hopefully it's good.
Another game with a sublime story.
Hopefully, yeah. Yeah, really keen for the sequel. But first one, yeah, loved it. Really set the gold standard for story-driven games. So, yeah, moving along. Count, you're up.
There we go. GTA 5.
Ooh.
Now, I am deliberately excluding the online component for this. Because the online component is fucking trash. It's an awful thing. Full of microtransactions, pay-to-win bullshit. The single player,
you don't
however...
like buying shark cards?
Funnily enough, no. Who'd have thought? Oh, dear. Yeah, but the single-player portion of that game is... That was San Andreas.
I don't know, man. I'm sure this one had something.
Like, take another 10 years off of that. Like, another 8-10 years off of that. You're about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Yeah. GTA 5... Well, I'm sure GTA 5 was controversial for something Trevor did in that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it told... It wasn't an amazing story, but it was a different story, an interesting story. It followed 3 psychopaths.
Okay.
Like, one of them was trying not to be a psychopath. One of them slowly becomes a psychopath over the course of the game. The other one is a psychopath. That's Trevor. He just is a psychopath. He loves it. He admits it. But yeah, it is... To me, it tells one of the most interesting GTA stories, and just the world that it's set in is just so detailed and wonderful, and it just has so much character to it, and it's just gorgeous to play. I love everything about it. I bought an Xbox 360 to play it, because it wasn't out on PC at the time. I then, when it came out on PC, bought it immediately and played through it again.
Well played.
It is just... I love it. I love everything about it. I love the world in particular and just how much there is to do in it.
Those are the special games that make you like invest in systems. Like they're the big ones.
Oh, they do. They definitely are. Like I know. Well, this is the reason they've released it. 3-4 times at this point, because they released it. They quote unquote remastered it for the PS4 and the Xbox One, which they did. They added certain elements to it and they made it look a lot prettier, to be fair. But on PC, it's just wonderful. It's so gorgeous. Yeah, and it is actually it's the highest grossing piece of single media ever. Like, it outgrosses every film, every piece of music, every video game. As a single piece of media, it is the highest grossing of all time.
Count. Let's do something fun when you wrap up your little piece. See what's been in the top selling games. I don't know, for this year, because I remember before Red Dead came out, that game was still frequently cracking the top 5 best-selling games monthly. So that'd be very interesting.
The best-selling games of 2019 so far, according to VentureBeat, this was a list made in September-ish. Borderlands 3, NFL 2020, Kingdom Hearts 3, The Division 2, Anthem, Smash Bros. Ultimate, Resident Evil 2 Remake, and Grand Theft Auto 5.
There we go. Bang. And how old is that game?
It's still in that list.
Yep.
It's still selling gangbusters.
And I reckon if
madness.
you look at it on a monthly basis as well, unless there's been a huge release like a Borderlands, that thing will be cracking the top 5 still.
Yeah.
I'd be very interested to see it broken down on a monthly basis and comparing it to Red Dead Redemption 2 to see who's taking the most bank still or currently. That would be interesting.
I don't think that Red Dead Redemption 2's
had a big impact.
I don't think so. It's not had as much of a big cultural impact as GTA 5 did.
No.
Like,
interesting. We might have to look into that. That could be an interesting one to look up.
I'd say, well, it's been a year since it launched, and I really don't think it's remembered as much in the cultural zeitgeist at all.
Nope.
It annoyed people as well, didn't it? In certain quarters.
Yeah.
People saying it didn't really treat your time well.
Yeah.
No, especially with things like one particular thing that bugged everyone was the animations, how it took so long to do everything. Because even if you're just picking up an item, there's a big laborious animation around it. It's just like, I just want to pick up the item and move along with my life. Even like little bits of ammo, you didn't just auto collect, you had to do a little animation for each one.
Slows everything right down.
What was its multiplayer like? What form did that end up taking? I haven't played it.
I think it's pretty similar to GTA Online, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we don't know because we haven't really looked into it in terms of how well it's still selling, but I suspect or I feel the case with that game is it's either just dead now or it's going to have a very slow build. Like, they'll keep pushing time into it and releasing new content and maybe gaining traction. I don't know, because I don't know what it's talking about either, so... It just kind of came and went in a space of a month. Who knows? Maybe we'll see a Western Battle Royale. Who knows?
No, please don't.
I would not be surprised. Hey, this game's not getting any traction. Fuck it, throw a Battle Royale in. And then it'll be like the next fucking Fortnite, but the Wild Wild West themed.
Great.
Who knows?
Just
great. Anyway, we are way sidetracked, so... Joe, we're in 2013.
2013. Well, I'm just going to go with Sully because The Last of Us is one of my favourite games of all time. So how can I go beyond that?
Joe, did we scalp you again? Did you have that one? Or?
No, you're fine.
Okay, good. Do you want to go first this time, Joe, in 2014, in case?
I guess just to make sure we don't get yours. I mean, I don't think I've got yours, but go for it.
I'm going to go with, surprise, another story-based game here, and it was just a blast. Wolfenstein: The New Order.
Nice.
Was that 2014?
I believe so. Let's just
Fuck.
check.
About right, I think. 2014 and 2015.
Oh, you're checking, are you?
Wolfenstein: The New Order, 2014. Fuck me. Oh man.
I found that game quite hard. Fun fact.
Oh, it was quite tough.
Really brutal
in places.
Yeah, got a little bit
But,
grimy, but yeah, it's fun.
What I loved about it was it completely eschewed this idea that you have to tack on multiplayer to have a successful game. And it was the gunplay was solid. I mean, when you shot a weapon in that, it felt really meaty, and it was really good fun. And yeah, it was hard at times, but it was one of those games. And you know this with games. Sometimes it's not with your head; it's with your heart. Something just grabs you about a game, and that did with this one. It just grabbed me. There was something about it that kept bringing me back and making me want to play it again. In fact. I think, if I remember rightly, I played all the way through it on PlayStation and then maybe all the way through it again on the Xbox as well. So
Nice.
it's rare that I do that with a game. So, yeah, there must be something about it that grabbed me.
The developer is slipping my head. Is it Machine Games or something?
Machine Games, yeah, I believe.
Machine Games. Yeah, Machine Games.
Yeah, and the less said about the young bloods, the better.
It's really bucking that multiplayer trend.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you've got that coming out, and then you've got Doom round about, that's 2017, so that was it 2017 or 15? 16, Doom came out. So you've got those two coming out around about the same time, and you know, they did different things, but they both were so just honed at what they did, and they did them so well.
Absolutely.
And like I say, I just had a blast with that game. It wasn't anything groundbreakingly new. It didn't do anything that we hadn't seen before. It just did it all really well as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I had a great time with that game.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. Well, I'll fire off my 2014, which was Destiny. Hate it or leave it. Take it or leave it. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, the story was. I mean, we all know what the story was like. It was kind of non-existent. Very vague. It was like kind of skimming through a comic book. That's almost how much they gave you. But the multiplayer and the shooter mechanics were nobody would hold a candle to it. Like, it could not be touched. So tight, so much fun. Destiny was, again, like StarCraft 2. There's probably nothing. It was probably the game that followed StarCraft 2 being one of those games that would keep me up longer into the nights than it should have. The multiplayer around those games and the raids and all the challenges, really, really grabbed me. So, another Bungie title on my list. So, really good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, Destiny is not for me at all because it's multiplayer based, but it definitely, for what it was trying to achieve, it did a very good job of it.
Absolutely. Really took that looter shooter into the multiplayer realm, which not a lot of games, I don't think any games had done that in the shooter space before Bungie and Destiny. So credit where credit's due. Unfortunately, I think it was just time constraints meant they just couldn't get the story on the table in time. Who knows who's to blame fully there? Could be Bungie, probably Activision, but we'll never know. But
it's probably Activision.
Yeah, time constraints, and Destiny 2 has vamped up significantly since they've walked away from Activision as well. So it could very much be Activision, but what they did bring to the table was a really tight shooter, though, and they feel like they had a lot of fun with it. There's like magic in this game, with the Guardians and their abilities. Like, it was cool. It did something kind of sci-fi and fantasy combined, which was a nice blend. It was a fun game.
It's one of those games, it's almost kind of a bit Marmite, isn't it? Those people who played it and enjoyed it really enjoyed it. And other people like me and County kind of just passed us by. I'll be honest, I've never even dipped my toe in. I've never even tried to play it. So I could be that I enjoy it if I played it. But I just, with those online shooters where they're online only, I I just haven't got the time for them, really, and that's the problem. I even if I wanted to, I couldn't sink the time into it. And when it's a looter shooter as well, there is an awful lot of time involved in playing it. I think you have to put in the hours.
There's something about the Destiny grind which was very similar to the Halo on Legendary grind. Whereas, like, you know, some of the raids and some of the areas and certain parts of the map, like, were so hard and challenging. It felt like, you know, you'd be playing through Halo 2 and you've got snipers pinning you down or something like that. Like, it was a very slow chip away grind, but when you did get to the other end and you killed the boss or you finished the level, it was just that huge sense of accomplishment. And then, and again, Halo Legendary was like a multiplayer couch co-op experience for me, and Destiny with its multiplayer, it was that same feeling again, except, you know, on adrenaline, on drugs. Yeah, it really amped up that experience for me. So, yeah. Anyway, blabbing about it enough. So,
no, cool.
Count, we've got you for 2014, and then I'll go again, and then we'll be back in sync.
Yes, okay. Binding of Isaac Rebirth. This game was the expanded, amazinger version of The Binding of Isaac by Edmund Macmillan. It's a roguelike with a lot of poo-related themes. It's very scatological. Oh dear. It is the game that... This was at the peak of the roguelike or roguelite bubble, and it just condensed everything that makes a good roguelite together into one package and just brought it all together. It is a wonderful game to play. I have played probably about 120, 130 hours of it, and Sully mentioned it a couple of times earlier when we were talking about FTL, but I have beaten it a couple of times. I've got to Mega Satan and defeated Mega Satan.
Not just Satan, Mega Satan.
There is Satan, and then there is also Mega Satan after that.
Oh, brilliant. I almost want to play it just for that.
It's great. It starts out, you know, you're just going through like about a 5-floor, 6-floor dungeon. You get to Mum and you beat her up, and then you're like, yes, I've won the game. And then it ends and it goes, there's more. And you just keep going further and further and further every time you beat it. And there's just so many different combinations of power-ups, so many different things that you can end up as, and it's just amazing. Like, some runs you'll basically just end up as a god, and you'll just beam through rooms and defeat everything pretty much instantly. Some runs you'll be really struggling for a long time with just like the basic attacks, and you'll be like, no, please give me more. But there's just something so addictive about it that it just makes me want to go back to it every time. It is a wonderful game to play.
Yeah, it is good. Very challenging.
Oh yeah, very challenging.
I only beat Mum and that was it. I never got any further.
Oh no.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, no, it goes down pretty damn far. There's a list of like 30 bosses or something.
Oh.
It looks like it's got an interesting art style as well. Like I say, I've not played it, but the art style looks very interesting.
Yeah, it's different, isn't it? There's just something odd about it. They've actually launched, Edmund Macmillan's actually launched a new game this year. And it's basically a prequel to The Binding of Isaac. It's called The Legend of Bobum. Yeah.
Sorry, then.
Sorry, Bumbo. Even sorry. How dare I get that wrong? Fucking weird. It fits with the style. But this is it's like a turn-based match 3-ish type game, but the art style, everything is made out of cardboard, or it looks like it's made out of cardboard, and it's done really well. He's just got the knack of making an art style just look consistent and good, even if it's a bit weird.
Weird is good sometimes. Yeah,
sounds interesting.
Good pick.
Sully,
you're,
2015.
Yeah.
Oh, unless you had something.
No, I was going to say your list is. I like your list count. It's we've only had one huge, I think, AAA from you, and everything's been kind of nice and quirky. Other than that.
And it's going to remain that way.
Ooh, I like it.
Good.
Diversity. Okay, 2015, halfway through our decade, halfway through my computer battery. Perfect. We're tracking well. Rainbow Six Siege. So still on the multiplayer bandwagon. Ubisoft hit that one. Have you guys played it?
I've not played. It's one of the few multiplayer games that I've looked at and go, I really ought to play that at some point, but I've never got round to it still.
I don't think it's a Joe game. Very competitive.
I mean, it might have been my game 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I bought it. I've got it, but it's never actually been installed. So it was one of those passed me by. I like the idea of it, but I was talking to a friend about this, and the whole thing about online shooters has kind of passed me by a bit now. I've got to the point where it gets a bit irritating to me playing online shooters these days. So
one of those ones you have to have friends. You have to have your squad that you always go online with and you always play with. Otherwise, it's very frustrating playing with randoms.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, even back in the day, we're playing something like Counter-Strike. That was the same, really. If you're playing it with mates, it was a lot more fun than playing it with random people. So,
but yeah, Rainbow Six, very pure, very straightforward. It's like StarCraft for me. Like you know what you got to do. You're there to clear rooms. It's 2 teams versus each other. A few different operators that you can use, which have different abilities. But it's that whole kind of like rock, paper, scissors every game, depending on what operators are being picked. And, it's kind of that countering of 2 teams mixed in with kind of the shooter mechanics, which is just very skill-based on that front. But yeah, it's just something fun about it, like breaching a house and knowing the other team's in there holding a hostage and you got to save the hostage. And there's so many different avenues of success, because a lot of the environments are destructible. You can go through a wall or something, or peek through a wall. I love it. It was a really, really solid game, and still a game that's thriving today.
It's still got a very good competitive scene, hasn't it?
Yeah, out of nowhere as well. Like I don't think Ubisoft even thought it would have the legs that it's had, but it really took the esports scene specifically by storm. And yeah, back in the day, all of my friends, we loved it. We played so many hours of Rainbow Siege after work. Again, it's that whole multiplayer cooperative aspect. When those games get it right, like I'm there. I just love it. I love just getting on and getting to that competitive scene and talking shit with friends. So yeah, really good.
Cool.
Yeah. Who are we up to? Count. We're back to you, and then we're back on Joe.
2015 Cities Skylines.
I saw that came out 2015.
Because it took SimCity and went, fuck you, you're a piece of shit, I'm going to do it better.
Count, was that the following the always online SimCity?
Yes.
Okay,
yes, it was.
Literally said, fuck you.
Yeah, it said, fuck you, SimCity, fuck you, yeah, you can't do it properly anymore. This is how you do it. It is honestly my favourite city builder ever. I don't think I've ever played one that even comes close to just how much I love City Skylines. I probably put nearly 100 hours into it. It's the best. It's the way it just takes the mechanics and just refines everything to a mirror sheen. Like, once you've got a city going, it's not that difficult, but getting the city going in the first place can be quite tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's getting it to actually make money for you. That's the tricky bit. That's when you're going, oh shit, no, oh god, how do I do this? Most of the time when I'm starting a new city, I play it with all of the stuff unlocked. You can there's a massive modding scene, and you can just mod things. So I mod it so that I have all the things unlocked, so I don't have to upgrade the roads as you go along. Because if you don't do that, if you don't plan for that, it can go quite badly. I remember the first city I ever made. Obviously, I didn't have everything unlocked. I just unlocked it as we went along. And I ended up with some bits where I couldn't upgrade the road at all. So I had like a 6-lane road going down to a 1-lane road for like a tile and then coming back up to a 6-lane road. Rough. It was not ideal. But I've modded one city to have all of the tiles unlocked. There, I think it's like 24 tiles, something like that. Normally you can only have 10 unlocked. This is for reasons of processing power, but you can pick any 10 of the 24. But I've got a decent PC, so I can get a decent amount in it. And nice. I had the whole thing unlocked. I had built on pretty much every bit of landmass on that on that island. It is just wonderful to play.
One of my friends was running City Skylines on the first Surface, Microsoft Surface that came out, and holy shit,
oh, wow.
chug. Oh my god.
Yeah,
it made my eyes bleed.
A Surface is not something to be running that on. Well, the thing is though, they brought it out on Switch, and apparently it runs mostly okay, which is honestly surprising.
It would be so wound back in so many ways. It has to be.
I'm sure, like graphically, definitely is absolutely wound back to hell. Do you know what the funny thing is though? The most amazing thing about this game is that it's made in Unity. And you know the shit people give you the Unity engine. Mm-hmm. This game looks gorgeous, and it's in the Unity engine. So it's not about the engine; it's about what you do with it. Also, this game has dynamic water, like the water actually exists in the world,
and that's why it chugs.
Oh yeah, if you get rid of some terrain around like some water or a dam, that water is going to flow into your city and flood everything. Oh. There's no two ways about that, and it's wonderful.
Very good.
It's a fun game.
Many people die. It's a great game.
I actually downloaded it for James. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I'm so OCD with any kind of simulation or building game. Like, everything has to be so perfectly positioned and uniform, it drives me nuts.
Oh, you wouldn't like James's cities then? They're all over the place.
Oh, fuck me. I'll come back to you on that because there's a thing later in the list. But we're back on to Joe with 2015.
2015, it's got to be Splatoon.
Oh,
and
okay.
The reason for that is I didn't have an awful lot of games on the Wii U. But when I went out and got Splatoon, I basically used to play it with James. We used to sit and play it together. And we had an absolute blast. And you'd play it because you had the screen on the controller on the Switch, and then you would have it on the television as well. And we would play, just me and him, we would just play it for hours and hours together and laugh and shout and scream. And you know, it's that perfect sort of couch experience. And it wasn't split screen because obviously you did it with one person holding the controller and looking at that screen and the other person looking at the big screen. And we just used to sit around and play it, and he used to kill me constantly. And I mean, he was a lot better at it than me. But we had so much fun with that game, and it looked lovely, and it did things with the shooter that was very different. It took, the trend at the time, or still is really, for these very hardcore shooters with solid mechanics, and it basically turned the whole idea on its head and made it a fun little game that you could play with all the family, and all the better for it, in my view. It was great fun.
Yeah, good stuff.
So, yeah. I don't know if you guys have played it at all, but...
No, I haven't, no. It's always had my curiosity, but I never got around to it.
Yeah, it's a lovely game. I love it. You know me. I'm not the hugest Nintendo fan in the world, but I just do think that we've talked about this loads of times. When they set out and they do a game, they usually do it in a very solid way, and they don't have very many misses. And they certainly didn't miss with this one.
What they sometimes lack in innovation nowadays, they make up for in consistent quality.
Charm.
Yeah, I'd go along with that. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. All right, I like it. Okay, let's move on. So 2016. This was one of those years I mentioned earlier where sometimes you just look at a year and you know the game instantly. You don't even need to finish looking at the rest of the games that came out that year. And that game for me is Doom 2016.
What a surprise!
Yeah. My God.
I cannot believe this.
Solid. I don't know what you have, Count. I wouldn't be surprised if this was on your list either, but yeah, fuck, what a phenomenal game. Oh my God. I think everybody's worried about this game before it came out as well, with like the whole review embargo.
Oh yeah, I
thing.
remember playing the multiplayer beta and being
this could be dog shit. A lot of the kind of pre-release stuff wasn't handled well, and I think we were all kind of going, this is a game that has been on the cards for a long time, it's been in development for a long time, we know it got rebooted at some point in development as well. All the writing was seemingly on the wall, other than some of the trailers we had for the campaign, which looked pretty good. But yeah, when this game came out, fuck me, like, in every orifice, like, this game...
Do we have to?
You have to.
I'm gonna say, I'd rather not.
I won't make you guys. But amazing. Like, I don't even need to say anything else. Like, we all know why this game is amazing. It's like FPS on crack. Brought back the FPS genre, especially for Doom. But it really did do something for the FPS genre. Like, it kind of went back to being like this pure thing again, which is just fast-paced, simple shooting mechanics. Loved it. So anyway,
excellent gunplay as well. Just
absolutely
meaty.
I think everything about that game is just solid,
phenomenal,
well put together.
Phenomenal, everything. Yeah, and I can't fault it, except the multiplayer, which I don't care about.
Wow.
Other than that, I can't fault it. Can't wait for the sequel. Oh my God, early next year, I think it is. Correct? And,
March-ish next year. Next year is going to be amazing. There's a lot of fun games coming out next year.
Were we meant to have it already? Did it get delayed?
It got delayed, I think.
It did.
Yeah.
My God.
The other thing it managed to do, though, as well, though, Sully, was it absolutely nodded back to the original Doom as well. It still felt like it belonged in that lineage, if you see what I mean.
I think that's why we're all so pleasantly surprised as well. Was it really did feel like the Doom of old.
It felt like a Doom game rather than
reborn.
Someone had taken the name and put it as something else.
Yeah,
exactly.
Unbelievable. Who would have thought it would have translated so easily to modern era Doom, the original stuff? So,
it's an awesome game. It's just an awesome game. What it does. It's like that old advert. You know, it does what it says on the tin. It does it exactly what it says it's going to do.
Yeah, one of those games that, like Count's GTA, I played on multiple systems as well. So, yeah, worth every penny. Love it.
Definitely.
Yeah, me too, actually. Played it on PC and Xbox.
Moving along, though, Count.
Yes, my 2016, I knew, before I realised we were doing years, I already had this on my list. I knew it had to be on there. It's Planet Coaster.
Nice.
And much in the same vein as City Skylines went to SimCity, fuck you, got mine. Planet Coaster took Roller Coaster Tycoon and went, fuck you, got mine, after they charitably fucked the franchise up the arse and just ruined everything about it. So Planet Coaster was actually developed by the company who made Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, Frontier Development, who also made Elite Dangerous, and have since made Planet Zoo, which came out this year. And the only reason I've not played that a shit ton is because Pokemon came out a week later. But Planet Coaster is just wonderful. It really is what you want. It's what everyone wanted Roller Coaster Tycoon World to be, and it just wasn't. If you remember Roller Coaster Tycoon World, it's the one that came out literally the same day as Planet Coaster in early access because they wanted to bring it out on the same day for name recognition. Nice. And it tanked. It had been through 4 separate developing companies had tried to do Roller Coaster Tycoon World, and it is now charitably described as out, but in reality, it's just sort of shat onto the platform.
So
it's a
amazing
joke of a game. It really is. So to have Planet Coaster existing just makes everything all the sweeter, because you can just laugh at Atari, laugh at their tears as Planet Coaster just does everything better. But so Sully mentioned when I said City Skylines that he wants everything to be perfect. Planet Coaster is that game for me. Like you can make everything perfect. You can.
Feel your pain.
You really can just fiddle with everything ad infinitum. You can have lights. You can lower them slightly into the terrain and move them around slightly just to light up a bush correctly how you want it. And it's brilliant. Like, there's a reason that I did when I was doing YouTube videos on my own channel way back when. There's a reason I did a 23-part series on Planet Coaster, doing basically, making a big Planet Coaster park. So much so that I made one big enough that my computer couldn't handle it anymore. It was fucking huge. It started out as it was going to be a weird sort of Atlantic thing. So you'd have a British thing on one side, you'd have an American thing on the other side. Then somehow I ended up making a futuristic floating island in the middle of it. Fuck knows how I got to that stage. And then I made the futuristic island, and then I was like, oh shit. My computer can't handle making America now, because it was just chugging at like 2 frames a second. It did not like it at all.
Simulation, man. Yeah, real timekeeping stuff. Yeah, syncs.
But they've just added things to it over time. There's only a couple of gripes I have with it overall, and that's just really niggly little things. But they just keep adding content. Like, it's DLC, but it's good little content. It's like little rides and themes, and you can just work off it and make loads of different things. It's wonderful. If you'd have asked me, when I was playing things like Theme Park World and Roller Coaster Tycoon way back when, this is what I wanted those games to be. It's just gorgeous in every way.
Nice one.
I like it.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, Joe, you're up.
This is 2016, isn't it?
Yes.
This is a hard one for me, actually, because there's quite a few games this year that I was kind of back playing video games a bit more by the time we got to 2016. So I know we've already done our sort of honourable mentions, if you like, but there's a couple of games I have to mention. I had Doom, obviously, that you said. Titanfall 2 came out that year, which is a great game.
That's a strong choice. Yeah.
What was the
It's
game?
a really
Sorry, I missed that.
good game. Titanfall 2.
Nice.
So I mean, there were several games that it was very difficult to choose between them. I mean, Titanfall 2 is a great game, but ultimately the game that I suppose, and this one's an odd one for me because it's a tiny little game, and that's Inside. And I think I'm going to have to choose that as my game from this year, because Quantum Break as well was just a game that I really enjoyed a lot more than a lot of other people did. One of my games of that year. But ultimately, the thing with Inside is I keep coming back to it, either to play it or to think about it. It's one of those games that's kind of haunted me.
Yeah. The one thing I remember about Inside is when I watched the Zero Punctuation review of it, and he just called it Thatcher's Britain.
Or Boris's Britain, as of next week.
Anyway. It shows it's a really bleak 1984 kind of world, but it's a really good social commentary.
It's excellent in that way, and it's very simple. It's a side-scrolling platformer, which aren't really my thing. But I've always had this thing about some music, some films, some books, whatever they are. Sometimes they rise above their genre. They transcend what they belong to. And I think this game's one of those. It transcends the genre in a way. It does something different. It does something new. It's haunting. It's weird. It's dark. It's bleak. You mentioned 1984 is one of my favourite books of all time, and it does bring that kind of feeling of 1984, that you're living in this dystopian world. And yeah, I love it. I love every minute of the game. Even the bloody weird stuff at the end. Which is bloody weird, but it's amazing. It's a great game. So I think ultimately that's going to be the one. I think we actually did a Games of the Year that year, and this was on the list, but it wasn't my top one that year. But it's the one that stayed with me since the most.
Yeah,
so
I think both you and Grant have talked about this before. Yeah, it's very. I haven't played it myself, but definitely
it's only
on
like
the pile.
5 hours long or something.
Yeah.
It's not very long. It's definitely worth playing.
Yeah,
if you don't mind, being in a bleak world, because it is very bleak.
Yeah, no, I'd be okay. I like it. But Horizon Zero Dawn. A game that kind of took me by surprise, because I'm not really an open world RPG guy. As you probably know from my list, I kind of really dabble in the shooters and a lot of the multiplayer stuff, and occasionally strafe off to play something like StarCraft. But yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn was a really pleasant surprise to me. It was a beautiful looking game. It had a pretty interesting mashup sci-fi story with kind of old meets new, I guess, quite literally. But it struck a balance, and I think the balance that it struck for me was one of its biggest criticisms was that it was kind of a light RPG. It was light on RPG wise. There wasn't necessarily a hugely fleshed out world like you'd find in The Witcher or Skyrim, which to me a lot of that can be a little bit overwhelming, and I lose track of where I am and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. It was kind of like almost an on rails RPG where it would let you strafe off, and it was just enough to keep you busy, and the world still felt open to you, but it kind of kept you moving forward down the narrative, and the combat was different and unique. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it had a really good story, and the gameplay was really good. So yeah,
that was definitely one of the games of the year that year.
Yeah, it was a very pleasant surprise.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where you looked at the concept and you thought, yeah, robot dinosaurs cool, but what else is it bringing? And it is actually a really just nice to play, interesting game with a really interesting world to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. If you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend checking it out, because the story does take a really cool twist.
It's on the PlayStation Hits thing now as well, so you can get the base game for, 16 quid. Just by
it's
default.
Definitely worth getting for 16 quid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, highly recommend this one. And I have a feeling we'll get wind of a sequel very soon.
I think so too. The thing with that game for me was when I first saw it and I saw the robot dinosaur thing, I was like, yeah, what? So when it finally came out and I got to play it, it was a real revelation. I mean, you already touched on that, but it was the whole robot dinosaur thing looked just like silly to me to start with, and the fact that they made me believe in that world while I was in it is a great achievement, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. Really looking forward to the sequel. Really looking forward to it. I know it hasn't been announced yet, but I guarantee Guerrilla Games is like hard at work on that. And I'm going to put it out there. Let's just make a prediction. PS5 launch title. Done. Throwing it out there.
That doesn't surprise me. I don't think
launch title. I think in the first year.
Alright.
Personally.
Very close to launch title.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
Well, that was your 2017.
Yeah.
So my 2017 is Hollow Knight. Because I love Hollow Knight. I love Hollow Knight so much. It's a wonderful. It's so pretty. It's so lovely. It's like it's contrast. I love the contrast of the innocence of the main character with just the bleakness of the world that surrounds him. It is just so lovely to play, and the mechanics are tightened to just a mirror shine.
It looks so good though.
It looks amazing.
So polished.
I'm really looking forward to the sequel next year, Hollow Knight Silk Song. That is just going to be... I'm going to be all over that. But the original Hollow Knight is just wonderful to play in every way. Like, I didn't play it much when it came out. I played about 5 or 6 hours of it, and I was like, okay, that's pretty fun. And then I came back to it this year, like earlier this year, and I was just like, oh yes, I missed out by not playing as much of this, because it is just beautiful to play. Also, for music fans, they have the soundtrack on Bandcamp, and which you can also get on vinyl.
Oh, nice.
Like you can order a vinyl of bits of the soundtrack. Like there was an original one, but I think the vinyl of that's sold out now. But the there's a new one. It's like piano collection, so it's a lot of them where they've redone bits of the soundtrack on piano, and it's that's available to buy as digital like immediately, or you can pre-order the vinyl and get that in like April. And I want it so much, but it's expensive. But I want it so much. Oh, I need it in my life.
You'll get it eventually.
So much. I hope so. Please, someone buy it. It's my birthday tomorrow. Someone buy it for me. It's
happy birthday.
Really,
happy birthday, man.
Yeah. But buy me the album if you want. It's $10.
Well, his postal address will be down below in the description box.
I mean, yeah. If someone really feels that generous.
Well, wait and see.
I doubt it will happen, let's be honest.
We've got his hopes up now.
No, it's not gonna happen. Anyway, yeah, that was my 2017 Hollow Knight. It's a gorgeous game. Everyone needs to play it. Joe, 2017.
Again, this was another one that was a hard one because there's a couple on it. There's obviously Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, and Hellblade as well. I think came out that year. But the one again, this is the same reason as the previous one. The reason I'm choosing this is because of the way it stayed with me. And you guys have heard me talk about this ad infinitum, so I'm not going to go into too much depth. But What Remains of Edith Finch. I absolutely adore this game. It does things with mechanics. It does things with story. It's like a collection of little mini stories held together with an overarching narrative, if you like. And it's sad. It's heart-wrenching. It does some wonderful things with mechanics. I love the way it towards the end when you're in a fish factory and you're also doing a little kind of adventure game thing with one hand while you're cutting off the heads of fish with the other. It's just amazing. And there's a sequence where you play through like a comic strip, and I love every minute of it. And it's a game that again I think I've played through a couple of times, and I just keep thinking about it. I keep thinking about it and going over it in my head. And this is another one where the first time I saw people talking about it and the first time I saw people play it, it was like, what? What, you playing as a cat? Or what? What's this all about? This is a bit stupid, isn't it? And then you actually get to play it, and it's not stupid at all. It's quite profound in many respects, and I love it. Again, it's a story thing. It really does get me if there's a good story going on, and this definitely has a good story.
I think it's one of those. It's one of the few walking simulators that does the walking simulator right.
Oh, absolutely.
There's really not many that do it right. I'd say it's that and things like Firewatch and the Stanley Parable, but yeah, there's not many, and this is one of the few that managed to actually do it.
It's that thing again of transcending its genre, of going beyond what everyone else is doing, and this does it to the nth degree. It's a fantastic game. It's a beautiful game. I love the way it looks. I love everything about the game. I could go on about it for years, and probably will if you let me. So shut up.
Good pick.
There we go. Right, we're getting close to the end now. Sully 2018, last year.
This is another one of those games I don't really need to explain too much. God of War.
Nice.
Yep. Pretty solid.
Good choice.
Pretty solid. Again, much like Doom, one of those games that kind of I guess it's not how you would say it. Doom didn't really reinvent itself, but managed to come back in a big way, we'll say, because God of War really was one of those titles that had kind of aged, I think, pretty poorly. That formula would not have worked in 2018, the original God of War formula. So I think they reinvented themselves in a really, really cool way, and it bloody worked. And again, it's one of those games, much like The Last of Us, it just kind of hits it out of the park in almost every way. And again, much like Doom as well. So yeah, love it. Top stuff. So that was a no-brainer for 2018. That's one of those titles where you just look at the year and you're like, bang, that's the one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, good choice. Good choice.
It was on my list, but it didn't make my final cut.
Ooh.
Yeah, same.
Can't wait to see what you guys have next then.
So, my top of 2018 was going to be Dead Cells, and then I remembered that Spider-Man PS4 came out.
Never played.
And I love Spider-Man PS4.
Nice.
It's great. It takes all the good things about games like Spider-Man 2, and it modernizes them, and it's got a lovely plot. Like, a lot of people said it was a bit formulaic. I personally found it quite charming, almost. Like, the character of Peter Parker in this is just they've done him really
Peter
well.
Parker.
It doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel like a man who's trying to play, like a 25-year-old man who's trying to play a high school kid, like like the original, like the original films, which were just, oh boy. He was too old to be doing that, let's be honest. But then the weird thing is, Andrew Garfield looked a more appropriate age, but he was actually older when they started. I know, really weird. But yeah, they are really great. It's a really great game. They characterize Spider-Man Peter Parker perfectly. Pretty much all the other villains that are in it, even though some of them are in it for less time than others, are characterized really well. Electro particularly, I quite like his characterization, and this is going to contain spoilers for it, so this is young enough that I'll give you a spoiler warning. The way that Doc Ock turns into Doc Ock is just, it's almost tragic to see, because you know exactly what's going to happen. You're like, no, please, no, and then it happens. But yeah, the thing that got it for me, the thing that really sells it for me, is the web swinging, the gameplay. Just like, the combat is fine. I don't hate the combat, but there's other games that do combat better. But it's the web swinging for me. It's just so smooth and fluid. And most games, if you can see, most games, if you can see cars but can't use them, you feel really restricted, because you're like, this is so slow and horrible. This does not feel slow and horrible. This is just wonderful to do. Like, I could just spend hours and hours and hours just web swinging around the city, like a really well detailed city as well. Let's not forget that. It was just really well put together.
Beautiful looking game. It's absolutely gorgeous.
It's fabulous. It's honestly probably my favourite superhero game of all time. And
wow.
I'd say it's probably one of my favourite superhero stories of all time. In just the way that it humanises the characters.
Even the stuff with Miles Morales as well, I thought it was handled absolutely brilliantly. Maybe not so much in the gameplay elements, because I know a lot of people said they were boring,
those stealth sections, there were maybe one or two too many of those, I must admit.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was great.
But his character arc as well was great.
Yeah, it was. It was really, really well done. I'd love to actually see a sequel where you can go back and forth between Peter Parker's Spider-Man and Miles Morales' Spider-Man. That would be
brilliant. Yeah.
That would be good. I want to see that on the PS5. But to be honest, there's no other way, there's no real way of me quantifying how good this game is, but I did make a video saying how good it was on GameCast.
Check out.
It's one of my favourite videos I've ever done, to be honest, on GameCast. I really enjoyed making it.
Let's link it down below then.
Yes.
Is it? Would you agree with this? Is it a game that is greater than the sum of its parts? That it all comes together so well, and it holds
I would say
together?
so, definitely. Yeah, I think the individual elements, except maybe the web swinging on their own, aren't amazing-ish, but when they're put together the way they are, it works really well. I do love that game.
The thing that summed it up for me is and I feel justified in stringing this out a bit, because I can tell you now that this was actually my pick as well.
There we go then.
The thing for me
what
with
a year
this
for
game...
PlayStation. Sorry, Joe. Go on.
No, go on. Sorry.
No, I was saying what a year for PlayStation.
It was
last
amazing.
year was an amazing year. Yeah,
Damn.
definitely. So many good games.
Yeah, I mean, when I played this game, and we actually talked about this in the 2018. We did a video talking about the 2018 games of the year, and I ended up going for God of War at that point. But since, the more I think about it, I have to actually come back to Spider-Man, because the thing for me when I play Spider-Man is two things really. It feels so much like Spider-Man, and that's always been my thing. I've talked to a mate of mine about this, with films, that Spider-Man, I can allow for certain things. Things don't have to be perfect, but it has to feel like I feel when I'm looking at the comic, when I'm reading the comic. And this game does that. It feels like Spider-Man. The other thing for me, and this is something that is not, you can't really quantify this very easily, but I find when I play this game, I'm playing it with a massive grin on my face from the moment I start it to the moment I put it down and go and do something else. It's so much fun to play. I don't think I've had as much fun playing a game, certainly not on my own. I mean, I said about Splatoon earlier, playing with my kid, and we had a lot of fun doing that. But I don't think I've ever had as much fun with a game on my own, certainly for a long time. Just that pure joy of playing a game. And that's what I got from this. It was a joy to play from beginning to end.
Yeah, it reminds you how fun games can be.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
There we go. All right, so...
well, we're on to this year.
My God. And what a shit year this has been for me.
Wow. I wouldn't say it's been a shit year. I'd just say it's been a bit of an underwhelming year.
Yeah, it's been a bit meh. You know? It just hasn't been a lot that's grabbed me.
Nothing has come out that's made me go, oh, wow, that's amazing.
Look, fun fact. All right. Minecraft 2010 alpha. I've played more Minecraft in 2019. That's been this year for me. Which is ridiculous.
Unfortunately, you can't have that.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, 2019 is just kind of been like, Gears of War 5 came out. Meh. Yeah, it didn't do much for me. Gears of War, oh God, I think Gears of War 4 unfortunately went up against Doom, so I think it never stood a chance there. But yeah, the only other game that I think, I'm being a little bit too harsh on this year, Apex Legends. That game gets pretty heavily ragged on now. Don't really know why, but haven't really been following it. But
it's the same as Fortnite. It's cool to hate it. I just have no particular opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, you know that Max and I were pretty hammer and tong into this game for a while.
It, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I never really got very proficient with it, but it's one of those games that really took the scene by storm. I saw it, I was like, it's free, I'll give it a go, and it just hooked me. Like, the gameplay was fun, the mechanics were fun, and again, it was that competitive multiplayer scene that really got me. But it kind of came and went in a big flash for me. I mean,
it's not talked about anywhere near as much as it was 6 months ago, and I don't really know why.
I feel like it came so quick and fast that a lot of people got on it, and then the cream of the crop just kind of rose to the top and just crushed it for everyone else like me. I just kind of went from enjoying it to just getting absolutely pwned at every corner. So that's literally what made me put this game down. I just got tired of getting wrecked. And typical, like, you could tell me like get good then, but I can't invest huge quantities of time into a game to get good. So it for that literal reason, it lost its appeal. I just got tired of getting smashed. So
that was exactly my experience as well. That's exactly what happened to me. Played it a bit and enjoyed it up to a point, and then it just got to the point where, like, you died. It
just got frustrating. Like, it's just the skill gap became apparent after the first month, I would say. But it sounds like I'm ragging on it, but what I did play, got my money's worth. Didn't cost me jack shit. And I really enjoyed the first 2 or 3 weeks. Like, really, really enjoyed it. So that, it's taken this year for me. Even beat out Gears of War. So, yeah, that's my 2019.
Okay.
On the list.
My 2019. Now, some of you who've seen that, been on the channel before, will probably not. This won't come as any surprise to most of you. I'm gonna be honest, it's a bit predictable, but it's Pokemon Sword and Shield.
No way! Oh,
I would never.
How could one have guessed such a thing?
My God.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you can't catch them all anymore because the national tax is out. Anyway, I'm joking. It does bug me too. Shut the fuck up. Right, so I'll give you my other choices for games of the year for 2019 that this beat out. I had Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, I had The Outer Worlds, and I had the Link's Awakening remake. Those are the only ones I can really think of that really grabbed me this year. Like, there's a couple of others that I'm enjoying, but nothing that's like, oh wow, amazing. But Pokemon Sword and Shield is... I have not been as excited for a Pokemon game, I think I've mentioned this, since Black and White, which came out in 2011. So that's, 8 years?
Yeah.
Like, the most excited I've been for a Pokemon game in about 8 years. And for me, these games have lived up to my expectations amazingly. I am in love with these entries. The world is what everyone who played Pokemon Red and Blue, Gold and Silver, it's what everyone wanted it to be. It's expansive, it's wonderful, and it feels pretty much like, barring maybe a few exceptions, it feels like a living world. It feels like a thing that's actually doing stuff, rather than, the first Pokemon games really felt just like this static thing that wasn't alive really. It was just a thing that was there and you played around in, whereas this feels like a living, breathing world. And I think the only thing I don't really like about it is the main rival, because I think he's a bit of a knob personally, but that's just my opinion.
Very nice.
I'm not a huge fan of him, but that's just how it goes.
I think Santa's getting it for me for Christmas.
Which one?
I don't know. Surprise. I haven't asked Santa. So.
Okay. To be fair, they're both as good. They're both basically the same, and they're both as good as each other. So nice. You're not missing out either way.
Very excited.
Yeah, if you're a person who's fallen off the Pokemon bandwagon in the last few years, if you're a person who's even just become a bit jaded with the franchise, like I had a little bit, then I would recommend the hell out of this one. It is
nice.
just,
I
am back on board in a big way. I love it so much.
Boom.
Nice one.
Count end with a bang. What a way to end your decade, Count.
Yep.
Back in love with Pokemon.
Yep, started it and ended it with Pokemon, actually.
I love that.
Can't argue with that.
All right, Joe, round us out. Round this decade out for us. No pressure.
Right, well, this one's an odd one. I'm with you, Sally. I probably like Gears 5 more than you did. I finished the game. I did have a lot of fun with playing the game, but it's not my game of the year. Probably because I didn't put as much time into it as I've put into the game I'm actually going to choose, and I've got some problems with this game as well. But that's Control. I'm really enjoying it, and I can't stop playing it. And I think that ultimately is, It's mechanically, you might have seen this. I actually posted this on Discord. That mechanically it drives me up the wall at times. I find the aiming rather annoying in it. But I'm really intrigued to find out what's going on. The world building in this game is fantastic. I love the oldest house, I think it's called, where most of the action, well, all the action takes place. It's got some strange kind of nods back to the original Max Payne with some of the platforming elements that are going on, where you go into these places where you have to unlock some of the odd supernatural things like a TV and all these different things you have to unlock, and the telekinesis and stuff like that in it is great. It's better than the gunplay, which I as I said, I don't find the gunplay very much fun at all. But I'm intrigued by the story as well, and I already mentioned this when I was talking about what was his name, Alan Wake. When I was talking about Alan Wake, I said that Control actually sort of nods back to Alan Wake as well. You keep finding these notes that have been left by people and these recordings, and there's talk about what happened in Alan Wake's story as well. And so it's the nearest we've got so far to an actual sequel to Alan Wake, and it is in that same universe. It exists in the same universe as Alan Wake. And like I say, the star of the piece for me, though, is the actual house. The oldest house it's bizarre and it's mind-bending, and it seems to go on forever. It's a link to other worlds, and there's all sorts of supernatural weirdness going on. And that element of it, and the central story about what's going on between the main protagonist and her brother as well, which is slowly unfolding. I've not finished the game yet. I've put in a lot of hours, but I've not finished it yet. But that keeps me playing, despite the fact that sometimes I could throw my controller across the room when I've died for the 5th time because I can't bloody aim at something. But yeah. So yeah, it is. It's not a perfect game, but it's the game I've possibly enjoyed most this year. So yeah, that one.
Nice. All right, there we go. That's a decade.
That is 10 years worth of games. That's 30 games.
Yeah.
Well, barring some duplicates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good diversity though. Very different. I like it.
Yeah, there's a nice mix of stuff in that. I like it.
I tell you what though, I think the most shocking thing about my list and putting together this list is how fast time is going. Because some of these titles feel like yesterday.
Yeah. Well, we said it a few times, didn't we? You go, wait, this game is that old?
Yeah. Like, even something as recent as, like, Horizon Zero Dawn, 2017.
Yeah, that's 2 years. Well, for me, it's like Cities Skylines, 4 years old, and I'm just like, oh, that's not acceptable.
Yeah, it's just insane, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I remember playing FTL when it first came out, and that was, 7 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, like, again, to me, like, Halo 5, like, all going on 5 years, like, my God. Like, I'm scared
new,
to think of...
It feels
yeah, it
new.
does. I'm kind of scared of what the next decade's going to be like with these games. That's just going to go faster and faster. But yeah, good list. I like them, guys. So, yeah, I think that puts a pin in our 2010 to 2020 decades. So
it does.
Yeah, very good. Let us know what your games are down below. Pretty easy to let us know. 1 through 10. Give us your honorable mentions. Or pop into our Discord server. You'll find that linked down below in the description box. And you can chat to us there about your favourite games of this decade. Yeah, let us know what you think of our picks as well. And please remember to, now's as good as time ever, to head over to Joe Chip's Discord. Not Discord, you can head over there as well, but specifically, his YouTube channel, where we'll hopefully have Year in Review, which would be Joe covering the big topics and talking points that transpired over the course of 2019. I imagine, Joe, that's something what it's going to look like.
Yeah, it should be, and hopefully you guys are on that one as well.
Hopefully it's already up.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah, but as far as our podcast here goes, all that remains, I believe, Count will probably try to get out one more before the end of the year, and then we'll be back next year, because it's fastly approaching the end of this year, and it's going to be crazy. So forgive us for not kind of seeing it all the way out, but I think, Count, we're enjoying this. I think Mark enjoyed the one episode he's been on, and we'll try to put something consistent together again next year as well.
Yes.
But enough rambling, because it's been a long one. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Please remember to comment, rate, and subscribe, and we will see you hopefully
in
next
2020.
week. Yeah, or
that,
2020.
Yeah. Either or.
Yeah. But again, last little shout out as well, in case we don't see you next week. Thanks for subscribing. If you're a recent subscriber, we've had a huge influx of subscribers in the last probably 3 weeks. So that's been great. We've had a lot of people jumping into the Discord. So if you're somebody new, thanks for jumping on board. Thanks for saying hello. And thanks for supporting the podcast, because we really enjoy it and we love the engagement. We love talking to you guys about games. Yeah, thank you. And if, of course, you've been here from the beginning, thank you as well. So until next time, guys, have a good one.